All right, and welcome into the In Between Fantasy Football Podcast, your place for a refreshing and feel-good take on fantasy football and NFL gambling. We're into the heart of the summer, giving us another opportunity to get invested with the future betting markets. And we've got stat leaders today breaking down our best bets for the passing, rushing, and receiving odds. I'm your host, Seth Woolcock, coming off just a fantastic July 4th weekend. Spent with family, friends. We were poolside. We had my buddy's band going, lighting off some fireworks as well. So just a sensational time, and really excited to be back at it here after the 250th anniversary of our great nation. And back with us, quite the cast of characters, including a man who spent the holiday weekend overlooking maybe the most beautiful scenic view I've ever seen for a wedding venue over the Atlantic Ocean. He's Big Money Masshole. He's Steven Lawson. Steve, how are you? And congrats to the brother and the wife, man.
Thanks. Yeah, no, I got to spend my 4th of July weekend officiating my little brother's wedding. I am just so excited that I got to do that. I love my sister-in-law very much. So it was just great all around. It was absolutely just a fantastic day. And we got that beautiful New England weather. A little hot, but sunny and gorgeous. And yeah, right on the ocean. Couldn't beat it.
I didn't know you were officiating the wedding. How did you go about getting the certificate to officiate? Was that just an online thing? Did you have to go in person
it's just an
somewhere?
online thing. No, it's just an online thing. It's actually the 4th time I've done it. So
How was the delivery? Were you on point?
It did exactly what I wanted it to do. I took people on a journey. A lot of people were singing my praises afterwards.
Okay.
I may have stolen the show.
Okay, well, I'm glad to hear it. If anyone did, it was definitely you, my friend. And we're also welcoming back a man who he doesn't celebrate the 4th of July, not because he's non-patriotic, but rather because he celebrates Canada Day. He's Zach McKay, better known as Craze. Craze, great to have you back on the program. Before we jump in, let us Americans know, the uncultured people that we are, what Canada Day is, and how do you celebrate it?
Yeah, which is literally the same thing as your 4th of July. We get together, family and friends. Unfortunately for us, July 1st this year was a Wednesday, so kind of broke up our week. Can't really do anything on a Wednesday when you got to go to work on a Thursday. So we were still partying it up on Friday and Saturday, just like you guys were this year. Again, get together with family and friends, have a few drinks, and celebrate the great nation of Canada.
All right. I like to hear that. Was that the day that Canada was July 1st, like signed into being a country? Is that, or did you guys kind of just pick that because you're like, hey, July 4th is right there. Let's just upstage and by a couple of days.
No, that's officially our day as well, that we were signed into being the country.
Okay. Well, I'm glad to hear that and appreciate both you guys being here. And also appreciate the wonderful women and men out there listening across the internet right now. Easiest free way to support us. Check out all the stuff we have going on across our channels right now. A reminder, we have linked up with FSAN, the In Between Fantasy Football Podcast, now on the FSAN Fantasy Football Advice Network. If you like the back road, that is now the FSAN Fantasy Racing Advice Network, and the 19th hole, now the Fantasy Golf Advice Network as well. And if you still like some of the entertainment content we've been doing on this program and across other programs as well, make sure you're checking out the In Between Media YouTube channel. That's home to Popcorn and Root Beer and our newest show, In Between the Screens. So a lot of fun stuff happening over there in those fields as well. We'd appreciate if you could just give this video a like and support the cause over here. And let's go ahead, guys, and fire it up here with a little between bets.
Between bets. Between bets.
All right, so the gentleman and I have been scouring the books and the prediction markets over the past few weeks, looking for what are the best stat leader plays out there, including passing yards and touchdown leaders, rushing yards and touchdown leaders, and of course, receiving yards and touchdown leaders. Gentlemen, I'm a little more conservative. Sometimes I feel like touchdowns are kind of hard to predict. It's not a super sticky stat. So I stayed more in the yards department. We do have a couple touchdown department calls as well. And Craze, I want to start with you because you are investing in a similar market to me, and it's all about the passing yards. And you got what seemed to be an incredible number earlier this week.
Yeah, exactly. I was scouring all the books, trying to find where is the value. And it took me to Kalshi. I'm looking at Matthew Stafford to lead the league in passing yards. He did it last year, obviously repeating, not super likely, but when you can get it at plus 1900 or 19-1, it's a great value. You look at the weapons he has, he has Davante Adams, he has Puka Nacua. So it's a great talent. They have amazing tight ends as well, athletic. They've been running a lot of 2 tight end sets last year, and they were still making that work. Ferguson hopefully will take a step forward. So I think that he's still got that great cast around him. Obviously, Sean McVay is still there. And when you have a Sean McVay offense with Matthew Stafford, it's going to be great. They bring in Myles Garrett, so maybe they don't have to pass quite as much, but I think in this high-powered offense, they're still going to want to pass the ball. And it's not because they can't run the ball. It just opens up that passing, or the running the ball opens up that play action, and you really just get a great offense all around. Matthew Stafford, 4,700 yards last year. I have him projected out for 4,449 yards. So I have him even taking a step back from last year. Ever since the NFL added in the new kickoff, where you get your touchback, you get to bring the ball out so far. Now you're almost halfway down the field in field goal range. The passing yard numbers have dropped. If you look at the last few years, 4,700, 4,900, and 4,600 yards have been the leaders in the NFL. Not quite where we were dealing with Drew Brees passing for 5,000 yards every season. Obviously, I'm not going to project him to go for 49, 5,000 yards, because when you're going with projections, you kind of want to look at where's the mean, like kind of where's the most likely outcome. And to me, he still is that guy when we're looking at this market. Like I said, 4,700 last year, back in 2021 when he had amazing wide receivers and Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp. He had 4,800 in this same offense. So like I said, when we're looking at where's the value, you got guys ahead of him, Jared Goff, Joe Burrow, Dak Prescott, Drake May, Herbert, and Mahomes are all ahead of him right now in that market. I think that this is just a great value. Like I said, 19-1 for the guy who did it last year, who keeps all of the same weapons. I think it's a value bet. And that's currently what I have projected. So I really like that market.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, the great thing about the prediction markets is it is such a volatile place right now, being a peer-to-peer platform rather than a regulated sports books, that you can really capitalize on some movement, right? Matthew Stafford has, part of this is probably Craze's bet. Part of it was probably other people also seeing this was way too long of a number. He's been bet down from 19-1 down to 3-1. You can still find him on other books, so around that 10-1 mark. But keep an eye on that, because even the bet that I'm going to lay out here for this same market earlier today has already swung up $1.50. So these are very liquid markets. And if someone now can come in and bet the no side of Matthew Stafford for this market on Kalshi, that's going to take those odds right back up. Maybe not a 19-1, but I think anything above 10-1, Craze is still probably invested with. And yeah, and that's going to take us to my play for this particular market, where it's Jared Goff plus 750. That's why I got him earlier today on theScore. This has since moved out to 9-1 on Kalshi, so I'm probably going to try to cash this out and get that better number there. And like, Steve, you know me, dude. Like, I love to bet the favorites. I love to take the chalk, but I think Jared Goff is deservingly in this chalk conversation for these odds here, right? Because he is the runner-up in this stat for 3 straight seasons. He's averaged over 4,500 yards in those years, including last year, where he didn't really have a real offensive coordinator, right? Dan Campbell took over play calling partway through the year, and like, nobody wants to talk about it, but like, the issue I'll take Stafford at 19-1, but the issue I have with Stafford, like anything under 10-1, and same with like players like Joe Burrow for this market, is that like, I don't trust them to stay healthy, right? Jared Goff, a bit of an Iron Man, though. He's played 17 games in 4 straight seasons. The Lions now also, because of their poor performance a year ago, they have a 4th place schedule, the 6th easiest strength to schedule as well. And the defense, ton of question marks all of a sudden, specifically in that secondary. Brian Branch, Kirby Joseph, both their safeties, they're banged up heading into camp. Roger McCreary, he's going to come over, play that nickel after coming over from the Rams in free agency. And their top cornerback, Terrion Arnold, well, he's a free agent now after some hijinks off the field for him. So I also think that while this defense not as good as what they once were, I think this offense is going to be a lot of fun and make for a conducive passing offense. No more Dave Montgomery, so maybe not as run heavy. You still have Isaiah Pacheco there, but definitely not still on the level of Dave Montgomery. And also, like, Goff finally got that new right tackle. Blake Miller comes in from Clemson, experienced guy, opposite of Penny Sewell. And hopefully they have a better option here in center as well, with Cade May coming over from Carolina. You got Amon-Ra back locked and loaded. J-Mo coming off that career year, extension in hand. Sammy Ballgame back healthy at the tight end position. Plus, Isaac Tesla, man, like, this guy, like, we didn't see much of him last year, but what we did see is he can catch touchdowns, make big plays, and he's no longer a rookie. So for me, I really like Jared Goff. Would I prefer there's a different offensive coordinator than Drew Petzig? 100%. But this is still a guy who had Jacoby Brissett thrown all over the field last year, ranked 7th in passing yards. So if he can do that with Brissett, I think he can do this with Jared Goff in Detroit. So, Steve, out of the two bets that we threw out there, Goff here around a plus 750, 9-1, or Stafford, whether that's a 10-1 that's out there now or the 19-1 Craze got. Do you have a favorite play out of the two we threw out there?
If I can get the 19-1 on Stafford, I would take that. Okay. You mentioned injury history, but when was the last time Stafford really got hurt? That follows him around, but that was really from his first 8 years in the league, really. After that, he's pretty much a workhorse. I mean, he's good to go. He doesn't miss time that often.
Not with the Rams, yeah. It's a good point.
Yeah, last year, like, it was talked about, like, his back. We were all assuming he was going to miss time. He missed no time, and then led the league in passing, and then won the MVP award. So I like Stafford of the two of them. I probably don't like either of them just on paper to do it. I think Stafford, the one thing that he does have against him is he's 150 years old. Jared Goff, I just don't think is that good.
Were you surprised to hear 3 straight years of being second in that?
3 straight years of being second in passing yards?
Yeah.
That is surprising. I think there'll be other better quarterbacks this year. I think there's a few guys who I would take ahead.
Okay. All right. Well, you don't have a play for passing yards, but you do for passing touchdowns. So let's hear it here with the man on the Madden cover.
Yeah, and I think he'd be a pretty good bet if I had to pick one guy to lead the league in passing yards as well. If I had thought about it and kind of did this all with you guys, I would love to see what Caleb Williams' odds are to lead the league in passing yards, but I do have him leading the league in passing touchdowns, mainly because of Ben Johnson and because of Caleb's kind of devil-may-care attitude when it comes to chucking it downfield. No DJ Moore anymore, but that means that there's more to go around for Luther Burden, Rome Odunze, and of course, Colston Loveland. The running backs are solid enough to get you between the 20s, but neither one seems to be particularly great at nosing his way into the end zone. So I'm very excited about some of those short 1-yard touchdowns that Stafford certainly benefited from last year. I think Caleb Williams in year 3 could take a big step forward, lead the league in passing touchdowns, and potentially make a run at an MVP award this year and break the Madden curse, if you will.
Yeah, I don't hate the poll here, Craze. My only fear with a Caleb Williams ticket to lead the league in passing touchdowns, as opposed to Jared Goff, who's playing indoors when he's at home. That Chicago weather, it might not be Canada weather, but it certainly is chilly out there in the Windy City and can cause for some run-heavy strips down the stretch.
Yeah, it definitely can. Like you said, when you take into that consideration, you got Matthew Stafford. He's playing out in LA, and Jared Goff playing in a dome in Ford Field. He will have to travel to the Bears at one point. I don't know exactly where that is in the season, but it definitely does factor in. And then it would just take a really large jump for Caleb Williams to do it. Obviously, 18-1 are pretty favorable odds. I think that there is a chance, like you said, it's a good offense. He's got the weapons. Losing DJ Moore just gives Luther Burden that time to come in and shine. Like, he was really held back last year, didn't really get on the field. So I do like that aspect of it. I think he can make this jump.
Yeah.
Would I project him to make the jump? Oh, is that the most likely outcome? No, but obviously he's not the favorite. So when you're looking at the odds, I definitely don't mind this play.
Okay. There you have it there. And a quick reminder as well that if you're going to be around on July 25th, consider getting a ticket to Draft Night Out. That is our live fantasy football draft at the Fantasy Football Expo in Canton, Ohio at Jersey's. And if you want to come draft with myself, Steve, everyone here on the IBT team, and FSAN squad, we also are going to have 200 of our closest fantasy football friends around. This is the event for you. We're going to have a shot wheel spinning. Songs will be a singing. giveaways going off, and a little bit of everything in between. We're also running a hashtag weekender special right now where you can get a 10% discount when you get tickets to both Draft Night Out and the IBT Classic. That is our golf scramble the day before. So really cool stuff going on here. We're also going to have an online version of Draft Night Out. So if you can't make it out there, you can. Many more ways to get in on the fun. And guys, let's go ahead and get back to the picks here. And let's go to the wide receiver market, where it looks like both of you have a dabble. Steve, let's start with you, though, because you like Justin Jefferson for receiving yards to be that leader. Why do you think it's a potential bounce back for Jay Jettas out there in Minneapolis?
Because my memory isn't so short term that I don't remember how good Kyler Murray was when he had DeAndre Hopkins. Kyler Murray, for all the hate that he gets, up until last year, looked like a very, very much an above average quarterback in the NFL. Like, the Cardinals stink. Let's just put that out there. Cardinals stink. That's a terrible franchise. That franchise is a joke.
I'm not going to argue. Yeah.
Like, they drafted a running back 3rd overall. Joke franchise. Absolute trash. Like, took Marvin Harrison Jr., who I didn't think was as good as advertised, but turned him into an overpriced ball boy at this point. I mean, absolutely figured out new and improved ways to fumble the bag. I mean, you're rolling out Jacoby Brissett at this point, and you still can't even get that right because they can't even get a contract done with him. So before everyone wants to dive down Kyler Murray's throat and be like, he's terrible, he's the reason. No, he wasn't. The Cardinals let him down. The Cardinals are a terrible franchise. So now Justin Jefferson gets away from what I believe was the worst quarterbacking I've ever seen in my entire life in the NFL, J.J. McCarthy, who should never see another snap.
There have been way worse quarterbacks than J.J. McCarthy.
There statistically hasn't. As far as all the advanced metrics, there actually hasn't, except for Jamarcus Russell. And I just don't remember Jamarcus Russell. I was a bit too young and not into football enough to remember Jamarcus Russell well. That happened basically before
Craze getting his haircut. Jamarcus Russell. He was spending G's and G's on getting the hair done every week.
Well, J.J. McCarthy, outside of some really cringy looking memes and giving himself a terrible nickname, has done absolutely nothing of note. And now he held back one of the most prolific wide receivers we've ever seen in the NFL, ever. There is nobody who started their career better than Justin Jefferson. And J.J. McCarthy rendered him absolutely neutered. Like, it was the saddest thing to watch Justin Jefferson go from 80-plus yards per game on average to 50. Do you know how bad you have to mess up to drop someone's yards per game by 30 yards in their prime? Like, that is the worst. It should be punishable by, like, we should sell him to Somalis. That's what we should sell him to another country. Like, he should be banished from the United States for ever doing that to a national treasure like Justin Jefferson. Give me a huge bounce back, chip on his shoulder, something to prove Justin Jefferson, because now people aren't even talking about him as a top 2 guy in the NFL anymore. Not even a top 3 guy. The question if he's a top 5 guy. Justin Jefferson has something to say about this, I'm sure. He's going to come back, and at 14-1, I'm not willing to bet against Jay Jettas at this point.
I do agree. It's a great number on a guy a year ago who was up in that favorite discussion for this particular odd set. I took Justin Jefferson this week in Scott Fishbowl. I'll be honest with you. And I didn't feel overly optimistic to do it. It was in the first round. It felt, end of the first round, those other elite wide receivers were gone. But still,
how'd you start in the Fishbowl? What's your 1-2 punch?
I think I went with Justin Jefferson, Achane were 1 and 2 for me.
Oh, nice. I went Joe Burrow, CeeDee Lamb.
Okay. Joe Burrow and CeeDee Lamb, not bad. But I do get a little nervous, honestly, because I don't know if Kyler Murray can play past November, whether it's Call of Duty or whether it's just his body breaking down.
GTA 6 is coming out this year, guys. Let's not forget about that. Who knows how much time it's going to invest?
What is the release date on that? Anyone know?
I think November is the.
I actually don't know if it actually is. Let's just how many times
until that game is on my PlayStation, I don't believe it. But I do think we need to take a national holiday week for that and just be like, no one's working, no one's doing anything. Give everyone a bye week. GTA 6.
I don't know. I don't know if I was gonna get it, honestly. I that game's so expansive, it actually hurts my head a little bit, and I can't do all the things. So I just do nothing but like rob the same cars that I've robbed in
You know
like
what you
every
gotta do? Every now and then I'll fire up GTA 5, and when I'm having a bad day, I'll act as like a model citizen. So I like will stop at all the stoplights and like let people cross the street. And it's a really weird, like relaxing thing to do.
Yeah, I've never done that on GTA. I could never do that. I want to. Are you boys buying CFB 27 with all
I
the
am. So
controversy going
me
on?
and my boys want to do like a dynasty, but I'm very upset about these microtransactions that are going
Same.
on. Like, what is with this? Like, we gotta stop. You know what? This isn't the place for me to have this rant, so I'm just gonna like park it there. But like, EA, be better. Like, be
Craze,
better.
are you a video game guy at all? Do you get into the Madden or the CFB?
Not really. I used to. Now it's just don't have time to be
Yeah.
doing that, just run out of time.
Oh
But
my god.
yeah, I think
Worst
back to
excuse.
Justin Jefferson though, just quickly. I ended up with two players on the same team, and I was going to switch to Justin Jefferson to lead the league in receiving yards. And then I saw Steve already had it in the dock. So I just wanted to briefly touch on that as well. I do think that with Kyler Murray here, he can support a true wide receiver one. Justin Jefferson is a top 2 wide receiver in the league. And as long as they are on the same page, I think that this is a really good value. And people are just being recency bias, as Steve said, where they're just like, but he wasn't good with JJ McCarthy, but nobody could ever be good with JJ McCarthy.
Yep.
So I definitely do like this line here.
Okay. And speaking of that, Craze, you also have a bet on receiver, but not to get the most yards, but to find pay dirt the most times here in 2026.
Yeah, exactly. My bet is going to be on Davante Adams. I already talked about Matthew Stafford. I feel like a Rams homer right now. I'm not even a Rams fan. He led the league in touchdowns last year. And I think what we're looking at with Davante Adams is he only played in 14 games last year, and he scored 14 touchdowns. 2 of those games, he was under 50% because he just wasn't fully healthy. And then they ended up resting him, let him get healthy for the playoffs. But when the Rams get to the red zone, when they're on the 1-yard line, as you said, they don't run the ball. They just throw the ball to Davante Adams. It works for them. It's worked for Davante Adams his entire career. And I don't think he's lost that step where his route running is not going to get him open. Matthew Stafford's still pinpoint accurate. So when you're the number one, touchdown threat, when you get into the red zone inside that 10-yard line for a great offense on a great team that's going to be there a lot, I think that 19-1, similar to the Matthew Stafford odds, is like most people don't repeat, but he has led the league in receiving touchdowns multiple times. He did it with the Vegas Raiders on a team that wasn't even great, and he did it in Green Bay as well. So he's been a touchdown machine. He's been that red zone target for every team he's ever been on. And I think at 19-1, you're really getting a great value here. I think that this odd is so low because there was all those trade talks earlier on in the offseason, like, will Davante Adams be on this team? What's kind of happening with the Rams?
Right. Yeah.
But I think now that they brought in Myles Garrett, they've really shown that we're going to win, and we're going to win now. And then, like I said, Matthew Stafford to Davante Adams, that was a great connection. Guys like Amon-Ra St. Brown, A.J. Brown, and Puka Nacua are all valued higher than him at the time when I was looking. So I think that if you can get Davante Adams for more of a value than those guys, I think that's a really good. Realistically, he had 14 touchdowns in 12 games. He had multiple touchdown games. And this is a great value. That's really what we're looking at, value. I feel like the Rams guys, they're just being undervalued right now. And this is a place where I feel like you can exploit the market on a guy who's been consistent his entire career, who I don't think has fallen off yet, especially for the touchdown side of things.
Yeah, keep your head on a swivel. Keep your head on a swivel for as these odds continue to change, specifically on those prediction markets. We are Kalshi people over here. It's kind of the first prediction market we started dabbling with a couple years ago, so we've kind of stayed loyal there. But Poly Market, another great out as well. Like, they were all over the place at the Nathan's hot dog eating contest. I don't know if you boys fired that up on Saturday, but Joey Chestnut had a big chain. These prediction markets really started to, even on the NASCAR coverage now, instead of giving you betting odds, they're giving you percentages from these prediction markets. So, and it's just a great way to take advantage. So like that number there from Craze, I'm going to go ahead and round us out with a running back, and I'm going down the board, boys. I took the favorite for the passing yards, for the rushing yards. I want a guy that, hand up, folks. Like, I was completely wrong about, from both a prospecting standpoint and also a usage standpoint last year. Like, Steve, you knew it. I was trading the farm for Dylan Sampson after week 1 last year. I was like, there's no way that this guy who had 0 training camp, not many reps in OTAs in general as well, is going to come back and be a bell cow back. Well, Quinshon Judkins was absolutely that, man. They started feeding this guy the rock. He averaged 59.1 rushing yards per game, the 22nd best. And keep in mind that week 2, he didn't get a full workload. He didn't get a full workload in that last game he left as well, or that'd probably be closer to a 65 yardage mark right there on average per game. And even with those half games, though, this guy was on pace for 279 carries, 7th most in the NFL. And the Browns offense as a whole, like, I'm still somewhat optimistic about it. Like Casey Concepcion, Denzel Boston, those are good wide receivers to have across from Jerry Jeudy. They also went out and invested in 4 new offensive linemen. This guy was doing this with one of the worst run blocking offensive lines in the NFL last year. They also bring in fullback Michael Burton from Denver. If it's Shedeur Sanders under center, I feel pretty good about it. Specifically, too, because like Todd Monken, like he's not my favorite head coach candidate, but what he did with Derrick Henry in the last 2 seasons, very impressive in Baltimore. Henry averaged 316 rushing attempts, over 1,750 yards per season. That would have won the rushing title last year. So we know there's no more Jerome Ford. It's really just Dylan Sampson. It is Quinshon Judkins here. So I'm expecting a Yeti-like season from Judkins, and I love the value at 30-1. Steve, I know you're a huge Judkins guy. You have been since this guy hit on the scene back at Ole Miss before he transferred up there to Columbus. Do you like him maybe in a bounce back spot? Because we've been hearing really good reports of him coming off that season-ending injury.
No, not as much. I like the talent. Don't like the quarterback situation. Don't like the wide receiver situation. Don't like the offensive situation, really at all for Quinshon Judkins. That being said, 30-1 isn't bad, but there's so many guys that I would just prefer, like, just at face value over Judkins for this rushing title. Like I see why he's so far back. And coming off of an injury like he had, it's one thing to look really good in non-contact, but we have to see how that leg holds up when someone hits it, when he's kind of having to really drive off of it.
Mm-hmm.
It was a pretty significant injury, not catastrophic, but bad enough that we have question marks. And when it comes to question marks like that, and then the quarterback situation being so bad that you can stack the box and not worry about it, I just don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, I'd be on that same side there. When we're looking at this offense as a whole, I expect them to switch quarterbacks at some point during the season, and it's really hard to lead the league in rushing yards when your team's not in a position that they can run. Like you mentioned what Derrick Henry did under Todd Monken, but the Ravens were a great team. They were able to run the ball.
Fair.
We look at this Browns team. I don't expect them to be leading by, a touchdown, multiple touchdowns too often. So I think that's
I don't even
really.
know if I expect them to lead at all.
Exactly. So when you're in a bad game script, maybe he'll get a lot through the air, but it's just not something I expect to see on the ground as much. Where you're going to have him at what's he probably going to have 1,600 yards on the ground. And I just think that's going to be a hard mark to beat when you have guys like Derrick Henry, Bijan, and Jahmyr Gibbs, who are on much better offenses that'll have better game scripts.
And when Taylor Green comes in and takes a lot of the rushing yards.
Oh, easy. I don't think Taylor Green's coming in over Shedeur Sanders.
You know what? I'll tell you what. I'll bet you a case at the next Expo that Taylor Green starts a game this season for the Cleveland Browns.
That's anything can happen there. Shedeur can get hurt and Watson could get cut or something off the field. I'm not taking that.
I'll say because they want to see what they got in him.
Yeah, I mean, I think if anything, they're hoping like, hey, stick around quarterback for a couple years, and then when you realize you're not good enough to make it at QB, let's put you at running back or let's put you at wide receiver out there.
He won't be a running back; he's too tall. So they'll.
Oh yeah,
do you think they'll Terrell Pryor him?
Honestly, I think that's kind of their hope. I mean, a guy that
why
athletic.
Teams don't do that more often. Why don't teams do? And likewise with big-bodied wide receivers who are obviously tight ends, like Johnny Wilson for the Eagles.
Yeah.
Why draft a tight end when you had a guy who you could have slotted right in and would have been the best move tight end in the league?
I think the blocking is part of why. But if they're a move tight end,
Johnny Wilson's also a good blocker. It's so weird. It's such odd.
I don't. Yeah. Shout out Johnny Wilson. That's a D.
I love Johnny Wilson.
Is he still hanging around on the Eagles, or is he?
He is. He's like the wide receiver 4 right now on the Eagles. I'm like, you know what? Let him be the wide receiver 3. See what you got. Go put him at tight end. Just see what you got.
Yeah. There was a really good receiver or prospect a couple years ago for the Arizona Cardinals. He moved to tight end, I remember, tried to get a stint with the Eagles, and then he ended up being in the UFL and like tearing it up in the UFL. I can't remember.
I know who you're talking about, and I can't remember.
Yeah,
his name.
yeah.
Like
so
he kind of got a sniff back at the NFL as well. Like, yeah, N'Keal Harry also tried to make the transition to tight end.
Yeah.
It didn't really work out.
Jordan Matthews did too.
Jordan Matthews did.
Jordan Matthews actually a decent receiver at one point.
But you know what? We've seen a lot of success of like not like a gazillion of them, but quarterbacks becoming tight ends. And I think if quarterbacks can become tight ends, like
Kalen Green can play tight end, honestly. Yeah, Logan Thomas.
Like Logan Thomas was a really good tight end for years. Like, I think he could do it. I think people could do it.
Yeah. Oh, that is a discussion for another day. But gentlemen, great job on this particular program today. Really appreciate all the wonderful insight. Let us know down in the comments below your favorite bets that we went over today, and any that we haven't named as well that you're thinking about getting invested with. We want to hear from you. And if you've rode along with us this long, please be sure to subscribe both here to the FSAN Fantasy Football Advice channel and the main FSAN HQ channel so you don't miss any of our content across football, basketball, racing, and golf. Be sure as well, FSAN.com, dope written content headed over there. If you want some entertainment betting content and some entertainment opinion related content, in-betweenmedia.com as well. For the Canadian Kid Craze and Boston's boy, Steven Lawson, I'm Seth Woolcock. Thank you so much for watching, and keep it in between. Until next time, y'all.